My name is Declan. I'm from Sheffield Green Party. I support staying within the European Union.
The EU is by no means a perfect institution, but one of the things that it is a guarantor for action on climate change. It's a way of us working together across nations to have a joint impact on those matters. And we've worked together on the Paris Climate Agreement, and I'd like to see more action, but what's been done is quite positive.
Climate change is the biggest challenge we face. We cannot do anything worthwhile if we're not in Europe. Europe is a huge trading area, and it's the trading bit that will help us fight climate change, because if we can change the way people trade, we change the way people emit emissions, CO2.
We try to work alone on things like air pollution and problems with pollution in the sea, etc. I mean, it's just not possible. We're just not able to do that as an individual country. We have to do that as the whole world has to play a part. And the European Union gives us that opportunity to do that, grouping with other countries and essentially speaking with one voice.
The EU gave us standards for clean beaches, improved air quality and investment in renewable energies.
People who want to leave the European Union keep saying is that there's far too much red tape, too many regulations. But in actual fact, when you look at what Boris Johnson and Michael Gove are talking about, it's actually about things which protect ordinary people, whether it's workplace safety rules like the maximum working hours in a week, or the right to have paid holidays, or things such as giving women paid maternity rights. All of these are things which protect ordinary people.
My option is to stay in because I care passionately about the environment, about human health and animal protection, so there is no other option for me.
The poorest paid workers in this country are carers who have to go from home to home, seeing either disabled or older people at home, helping them into bed, cleaning them, and then go to another home to do a similar work for somebody else. Now, because the work that they do has been privatised, their employers haven't been paying them for the time they've been travelling from one home to the other. But because of the European Time Directive, they are now obliged to do that.
I'll be voting to remain in Europe because I believe that in a globalised world we need to make stronger links with other countries for the mutual benefit of everyone. As an example, the threat of TTIP, the Transatlantic Trade and Investment Partnership, the only viable way I think we have of tackling that is by working together in a progressive alliance of MEPs, including Greens, which is already happening in Europe. Without that, I worry that our Tory government would just go hell for leather after this treaty that really does threaten many of our precious institutions in this country and our way of life.
If we find ourselves in a position like Switzerland or like Norway, whereby we are bound by the rules and tied into the markets of the European Union, but have no way whatsoever to put any brakes on some of the worst excesses of capitalism throughout the European project, then we're in a worse position than we are now, not a better one.
We should not become an isolated nation again. The world just doesn't work that way. We cannot ignore international issues and think they won't affect us. They do.
I think that we're so much better being a part of the European Union because there's safety in numbers, and essentially we are part of one planet, and that means that we're all responsible for looking after it.
If the UK leaves the European Union, we have no mechanism for uniting with other nations that want to work on issues like climate change that really need to be tackled on an international level.
I also think that the only way we have any hope of tackling the current refugee crisis is in cooperation with our European neighbours. The crisis is just too big for any one country to tackle on its own, and we need to work together to find solutions for these hundreds of thousands of displaced people.
Obviously we've got problems like terrorism, and there have been wars on the edges of Europe, but the European Union itself has delivered peace in an unparalleled way to our continent, which is something maybe we sometimes tend to forget. in amongst when we're shouting at each other, when in actual fact, in the past, we'd be shooting at each other.
Jaw is better than war. And the EU is a classic example of an organisation where people are coming together from different nations to tackle issues and problems. And without those ties that bind us together, everything starts unravelling, and we don't know where that will end. So as such, I think we've got to keep the EU, we've got to improve it, we've got to make it better, but to lose it, we'd lose a lot more, and that could threaten peace in years to come.
Vote Remain, because we're greener in Europe.
Vote Remain and greener in.
So vote Remain, because we're greener in.
Vote Remain, we're greener in.